There's this incredible story, and by incredible, I mean I'm glad to see it. Not incredible, it's actually pretty logical. In Illinois, some people are hoping to abolish the death penalty altogether. The Illinois Senate voted a few days ago to abolish capital punishment. And this would now send the issue to Governor Pat Quinn. And then the idea here, we don't yet know, I haven't heard whether Pat Quinn is actually going to vote for this or not. And let's put the map up of where we actually still use the death penalty across the world and where we don't. This is a state, Illinois, that actually removed 20 wrongly condemned people from death row since 1987. So whenever people like to make the argument, there's really no risk of executing innocent people with the death penalty. Well, if you believe that every single one, after being convicted, will somehow be found to be innocent and then released, well, that's kind of a long stretch. I don't believe that. The Senate voted 32-25 to end execution more than a decade after a former governor halted the punishment he called haunted by the demon of error. Illinois would be the fourth state since 2007 to get rid of capital punishment. It would make it 15 total. And I believe that this is the right way to go. I don't know that we're even clear, Lewis, your position on capital punishment.
I'm against the death penalty, but probably not for the same reason I think most people are against it.
Oh, here we go. I have a sense there's something here. What reason are you against it for?
I just think life in federal prison is a fate worse than death.
You actually just think it's a worse punishment?
Yeah.
I honestly can't say I disagree. When I watch, we've talked before about these shows, if anybody's put on MSNBC Friday or Saturday late at night, the lockup marathons, I'm kind of addicted to those things, and it really does seem to me like it is just an existence that 40, 50, 60 years of that to me does seem worse than death.
I know.
But that is not actually why I am against the death penalty. I mean, I believe that it is barbaric to believe that we can do this eye for an eye and decide if you have committed a murder, that then somebody else is deciding to murder you. And I get that. You have committed a crime. You're not just a free, innocent person. But to me, when we talk about pro-life, the business of putting people to death is not something that I'm involved in. And for those of you who are going to say, well, you support legal and safe abortions, that's right, I do. And flatly being against abortion can actually, in many cases, end two lives, when that wouldn't be the case. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right. I think we are above it. I think it would be good for the country to abolish it completely.
Looking at the map, other first world, industrialized, whatever the right term is to use at this time, countries do not have the death penalty. They have figured it out. And if we look at the map and see what countries do still use the death penalty, are these really the countries that we are trying to mirror? I don't think so. And, I can imagine when people say to me, well, if somebody you knew was killed and you knew who it was, you would want them put to death, wouldn't you? Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine a situation where I would want someone put to death. I'm sure I could get to that point, but does that mean that it should be the policy of the United States? Because I can imagine a situation where I would have a visceral response that would say that this person deserves to die. There's a difference between the victim of a crime wanting revenge, wanting justice even, if that's what you believe it to be, and actually making it the policy. That's my view. Mm. The other issue is, does the death penalty does it act as a deterrent to crime? There is no credible evidence that that's the case.
Right.
Study after study suggests that's not the case. There's so many other factors anyway in terms of crime that even those who say, well, states with death penalty laws don't have, or rather do have lower crime rates than state without such laws. That's not the case. But even if it were, poverty, income, the weather's effect on seasonal depression, I mean, how can we say that the death penalty being there is the deterrent? And by the way, I'm making a hypothetical argument because that evidence doesn't exist. And this is especially true when we talk about the lone gunman acting alone, right, Lewis? Because if they are mentally ill, as many people claim, why would the death penalty be a deterrent? And for those who say, well, listen, if it's a premeditated crime, the crime is planned beforehand, a professional hitman, for example, they intend and expect to avoid punishment altogether by not getting caught, right? They're professionals. So it's not going to be a deterrent in that case anyway. I believe.
I have to agree.
You don't believe that there is a deterrent effect to the death penalty?
No. And the facts speak for themselves.